Welcome back to Catholic Lunch Break here on AM 1430. This is the weekly program where we catch up with all things Catholic in the greater Houston area. And of course, we are well into the season of Lent at this point, where many Catholics, of course, are focused on fasting and almsgiving, but we can't forget about the most basic one here, and that is prayer. And so we've been focused and talking with people about the importance of prayer. There are several activities coming up, including a Lenten Day of Reflection, where you can draw closer to the Lord through prayer. Join us on the program to talk more about that and to talk about the Secular Franciscan Order is Fabiola Cespedes. Fabiola is the vice minister of the St. Maximilian Kolbe Fraternity, Secular Franciscan Order, which meets at St. Jerome Catholic Church in Houston. Fabiola, thank you so much for taking the time to be here at the studio.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a great opportunity. Thank you.
I want to ask you all about the Secular Franciscan Order, also known as the Third Order Secular, which you're a part of. But first, I want to just get a little bit of an overview, because you, Fabiola, have lived all over the world. You've been here in the United States since 2012. But I think you'd mentioned to me you'd gone to a German school. You've lived in England at one point. You were born in Bolivia, still have family there. Tell me a little bit about traveling all over the world and how, you were able to, have you always been Catholic? Have you been able to go to church? Tell me a little about that.
As they say it here, yes, I've been created Catholic. Mm-hmm. I was baptized as soon as I was born, which has been a blessing. But evidently in my journey of life, I haven't necessarily been that close to the Lord as mm-hmm. I currently believe I am. Mm-hmm. And it's so life-giving. But I always look at the journey of my life as a way where the Lord was always calling me. I perhaps was a bit deaf or just paying attention to my own things, mm-hmm. Until He brought me here, which I've always said. I lived 10 years in England before coming to the U.S., and I've been in Houston for almost 13 years now, and I always say, He really brought me where I could flourish in my faith, finally.
Very good. And I would say that you live fairly close at this point to St. Michael the Archangel Catholic Church, which is your normal parish. That's in the Galleria area, right?
It's in the Galleria, yes. That's where I actually go.
Very good. So that's your parish, but I should say that since you're a member of the Secular Franciscan Order, the St. Maximilian Kolbe Fraternity, you meet regularly at St. Jerome Catholic Church, so you're there in Houston on a regular basis as well. Tell me, when did you first start hear about this Secular Franciscan Order? And then we'll unpack that a little bit, because just saying someone is a Franciscan, there's a lot to that. But tell me how you got involved with this particular group.
Actually, it wasn't even my intention to mm-hmm. become a Franciscan. Again, okay. The ways of the Lord and how He calls us and allows us to hear Him are unbelievable. Because what I knew I wanted was not only a consistent, but also structured prayer life. Mm-hmm. And because, yes, when I arrived, I was on fire. I had mentioned that I got confirmed as a Catholic late in my life.
Okay.
So really right before, few months before I moved to the U.S. And then there, I came here, and again, my faith flourished. I was attending all of these beautiful events with young adults, all Catholic, and not only scripture or Bible studies, but also sports where you really can make friends mm-hmm. and long-lasting friendships mm-hmm. in such a beautiful set and community, right? Mm-hmm. But then again, you have these, prayer events that you can go, and it's all very nice, but I was longing for something more steady, and again, structures, because sometimes you have, a Bible group or a prayer group, mm-hmm. and it's on certain topics and on certain dates, but for a period of time, mm-hmm. right? And then you switch to something else, and no, I wanted consistency. So I said, and community. So I looked for that, and I said, okay, what lay communities that I knew that existed, that there were lay communities. I wasn't entirely sure, which one I was to pick yet. But then so I decided, okay, I like the academics, I like the studies, so I'm going to go for the Dominicans because I know they have a third order as well. Mm-hmm. And then, so I Googled a little bit about it, and then I said, okay, they meet on Saturdays. I can't remember exactly when, which Saturday of the month. But then I go on a Saturday, and the friar comes out and says, no, we're not gathering today. But why don't you go to the community center right across the road from here? They meet in Holy Rosary. But yeah, don't want to confuse anybody on that information. So they meet there. So I went to the community center there, and this lady opens the door, and, you know, she welcomes me in, and she was with all of these books around, and it was so very beautiful. And I was asking her questions. And finally, she asked me what I was after, you know, why had I come to her? And I said, because, you know, I'm looking for a community of prayer that is structured, organized, and where I can have that constant growth in my faith through, you know, long term, basically, if you could call it like that, community. And then she says, I can't remember exactly how our talk went about, but everything she was telling me about the Franciscans, when she talked about what are the things that you like, and I said, I like serving, you know, I like being with the people, and the joy and the energy that I get from anyone, from people. So I like very much that. And then she said, you know that we, the Franciscans, one of our spiritual, you know, our gifts, basically, is the service. I said, oh, okay. And then she said, and we're having our regional retreat, and I can explain later how that all works, our regional retreat in a couple months. Would you like to join? And that was the start of the story.
And I love how, like, it could start with just an invitation, in some cases, just a simple invitation like that.
Yes.
And you don't even necessarily know what you're looking for. You know that you appreciate good education. I know you yourself, Fabiola, are well-educated. You're a lawyer, so you appreciate that. That's why I can see you be drawn Dominicans, folks who are well-read.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's interesting how kind of the Franciscan order kind of came upon you in that sense.
Because formation in the Franciscans, it's absolutely vital. For us, it's not just the service and the good-hearted people, or, you know, the one that just wants to give generously their time and serve. No, we really are, and you know, our seraphic father, St. Francis of Assisi, he was very much into formation.
Yeah.
And it's formation on the teachings of the Catholic Church, on Scripture. So that's a huge part of even becoming and professing as a Franciscan. Yeah. Because, you know, it actually, the process entails at least 18 months of formation before not only what we call the candidate makes a decision to join, but also the council and the fraternity are aligned to invite you in as well. It goes both ways. Not only the readiness or the willingness of the candidate to become a Franciscan and having, you know, completed the formation, and perhaps I'm using the word completed not in the very right way, because formation is forever.
Right.
It's continuous.
Right. We're always on a journey.
Continuous.
And
Christ. It's a huge part of our gatherings in every month, you know, once a month. It's a huge part, the formation.
Well, I appreciate your saying that, because, yeah, like I said, I imagine that formation took a long time, but now noting that it takes more than a year, it definitely gets you ready, I can imagine, for so much. You know, Fabiola, you were talking, you'd referenced St. Francis of Assisi, of course, such a beloved saint in the Catholic Church. And, of course, so many people have been influenced by St. Francis of Assisi, whether it's his love for the Eucharist or love for Heavenly Mother Mary. So I appreciate your mentioning the fact that you are a Franciscan. I should reiterate, secular Franciscan, because I want to take a step back here. A lot of people, when they think of Franciscan, they may just think in their head, oh, a Franciscan friar. And of course, there are clergy members who are Franciscans that we know about all over the world. But there are different orders, first, second, and third order. So just give me a brief overview, Fabiola, of what is in each of those three categories.
St. Francis himself was a layperson.
Okay.
And so some, scholars say, yeah, he started the third order because he was a lay person.
Okay, so third order is lay, is
The lay people,
Franciscans.
correct. Okay. So the way the Franciscans are organized, it's, and gladly our Father St. Francis got approval for all of this from the Pope,
Okay.
by the Pope at the time. And it's the first order that it's made out of friars
Okay.
or brothers, Franciscan brothers who are not necessarily in the priesthood,
Okay.
who are not in the priesthood. Then the second order, which are the poor clerks, or nuns, Franciscan nuns. And the third order, which is you, I, married, single, and actually sometimes some priests also are in the secular group.
Okay, that makes sense to me because I know there are different secular Franciscan order fraternities all around the country, all around our region as well.
Yes, and those are the third order are those that are the fraternities, the
Very
local.
good.
Yeah, so for example, I go to the San Maximilian Kolbe Fraternity, and we are a third order.
Very good.
So all the fraternities. And then we have the local ones, the regional, the national, and the international. So we are all connected throughout the world. That was the dream of St. Francis. His love has no borders. And we all get assisted from the locals by the regional by the national, and the national by the international.
I really appreciate you clarifying all that, Fabiola, because like I said, some people can get confused when we talk about what it means to be a Franciscan. In that same vein, though, what's great about it is that all of us can strive to live based on the example of St. Francis of Assisi. What he taught is open to everybody. And one of the things that I want to highlight is the fact that you guys with the Secular Franciscan group, along with Emmaus Spirituality Center, are hosting an upcoming Lenten Day of Reflection. Now, of course, a lot of secular Franciscans will be there for the event, but of course, it's also open to anybody who just wants to draw closer to the Lord. So that's going to be coming up on March 22nd, which is a Saturday, and it's going to be held at St. Jerome's Parish Activity Center. And we have a brother, Joseph Bach, who is going to be there to give a Lenten Day of Reflection. He said he's going to be talking a lot about Mary. So the theme of this is going to be standing with Mary at the foot of the cross. Let me ask you, Fabiola, in your journey of being Catholic, like you said, you were confirmed a little bit later in life, had gotten involved with the Secular Franciscan Order a little bit later. Tell me, what does Mary, Mother of Jesus, mean to you personally?
I'll say that in a second, but one thing that I came to realize after even I had consecrated myself to the Sacred Heart of Jesus through the Immaculate Heart of Mary, which it's a devotion that people know as consecration to Mary, but it's actually to the Sacred Heart of Jesus through the Immaculate Heart of Mary. So before I got into that, then I came learning about the Franciscans that St. Francis had our Blessed Mother as the patroness and protector of the whole fraternity, this beautiful international family, right? Because we all are one family, the Franciscans. And wherever we go, we have always a place. It's amazing. And then that was so beautiful to me because Mary in my life makes the whole difference. At the beginning, it wasn't so, as they say. And I always share a little bit of my journey into Mary and making Mary such an important, vital companion in my life. Companion, guidance, protection, strength. She gives me all. She gives me all. But it wasn't so all the time. Actually, when I was back in Bolivia, I was living in London and always going back to visit parents. Thank God I was able to. I have my twin brother who became a Baptist. He's the only Baptist in the family, in the whole family. And, as you know, they don't venerate our Blessed Mother as we do, our brothers and sisters Baptists. So I always had a little bit of doubts about the beauty of our Blessed Mother. And but finally, through an invitation here in Houston of a friend of mine who were gathering some friends to do the consecration to Mary, I'm just going to shorten it like that, consecration to Mary. The third time she invited me, in a couple of years, she had been inviting me constantly. And again, the Lord is so gentle and so wonderful in calling us to get the help we need in our journey of life. So this friend of mine invited me, and I finally said, okay, let's do it. Let's do the consecration. For me, it was a game changer. So the fact that now we are going to be reflecting on her in the Lenten Day of Reflection, there cannot be a better topic to help us in this Lenten period, because Mother Mary was at the foot of the cross, and she withstood everything there in strength, and she was standing despite the fact of how much brokenness or how broken she could have been. So her love, kindness, and gentleness is something that, I strive to.
I want to take note of the fact, Fabiola, every time you've mentioned Mary, you've connected it to her son, Jesus. So it's to Jesus through Mary in almost every example that you've said. And so I appreciate your clarifying that. Often from people who are Baptist or Protestant brothers and sisters don't understand that, no, we're on a path to Christ, and Mary can help us. She's a vehicle because she's so close to her son, Jesus, in heaven right now. So she can listen to us, and she can take our prayers, our concerns, and bring it to her son. You'd mentioned the fact that Brother Joseph, or I mentioned Brother Joseph Bach, is going to be talking about Mary in his reflection. So I wanted to read, Fabiola, you had sent me a summary of what Brother Joseph had said. And so I just want to read this very briefly because it was so powerful. In this preparation for the Lenten Day of Reflection, Brother Joseph had said, Mary was prepared for this moment through her lifelong qualities of total surrender, fidelity in all things, and her gaze of love. She is the strong woman who stood at the foot of the cross. She is an image of grace, courage, and hope. Even though her heart was broken, she remained standing, open and reflective, faithful to her yes to God in this moment of profound sorrow. During this Lenten season, we join Mary at the foot of the cross, reflectively listening to God's message for us as we prepare for the resurrection. Again, very powerful, and like I said, it's had an impact on you, what you were talking about at the foot of the cross, and continues to this day.
To this day. And one thing I will say is the consecration to our Blessed Mother, I would say, as a game changer in my life, because I never expected that my love for Jesus would grow exponentially, because I was just meditating on the Blessed Mother, because I did the 33 days to Morning Glory consecration, right?
Yeah.
Father Michael Gailey actually leads that, and there is a booklet, and you can do it for 33 days, short prayers every day, meditations, and it's always on the love of Mary, yes. So I always thought, then again in my ignorance, we're just going to be, focusing on Mary. For me, every day that I was meditating on that, I found myself just thanking God, loving Jesus so much. It was so. I cannot explain how the consecration to Blessed Mother made me love Jesus so much more, and just look for Him, and be wanting to be with Him. It's something I cannot explain, but it happened like that. So my love for Jesus grew exponentially. It's her love, I guess.
I don't blame you, Fabiola, for having trouble trying to express God's love and Mary's love in words. Sometimes we as human beings feel so limited trying to think about, what our Heavenly Mother is like, what Jesus is like in heaven right now. We do our best to be as united as we can be. And of course, one day when we reach heaven, we'll understand it all even better.
Or as she said it in scriptures, right? Do as He tells you.
Right. That's right.
And honestly, that's how if there are words for it, that's how I can explain it. Do as he tells you. So you go to him and you do as he tells you.
Powerful testimony. We really appreciate Fabiola Cespedes. One quick recap before we go here. Again, if you want to join Fabiola and many people who are part of the Secular Franciscans, as well as other people in Houston area, they're going to be gathering on March 22nd. That's a Saturday for a Lenten Day of Reflection. It's an all-day event. And it's going to be happening at St. Jerome's Parish, which is in Houston. So you can check out the St. Jerome's Catholic Church website. And again, this is being hosted by the St. Maximilian Kolbe Fraternity, the Third Order Secular Franciscans, and Emmaus Spirituality Center. But take note that the deadline to register is coming up on March 12th. The cost is only $20 for the registration fee. So again, check out St. Jerome Catholic Church's website in Houston. Fabiola Cespedes, Secular Franciscan Order, thank you so much for your powerful testimony. We appreciate your being here today.
Thank you so much. And if I can make a last invitation, for anyone who's curious about growing in community and in the love of God, we wait for you also the first Saturday of the month at St. Jerome's, where our fraternity, St. Maximilian Kolbe, meets. And hopefully I can see you on the Lenten Day of Reflection as well.
Very good.